All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Greg. This is Standard Information. Today, we're going to be covering how to set up a vendor in the Standard Information platform. So you should have already set up verticals. If you didn't cover that, then please jump to the first video to show how you can set up verticals. This will be how you can get data into the platform and is a necessary first step. As a second step here, we're going to go in. We're going to show you how you can get vendors and add vendors in. There's two different ways to do this, but we're going to go with the vendors button here. So this is if you are setting up in a marketplace format. If you are a lead buyer only, a brand, and you're just buying from different vendors, but you're not reselling, then please skip ahead to the streams section, and I will cover how to set up vendors and stream campaigns, which is a different type than we're doing right now. But if you are buying and selling, or you want to use the marketplace features, then we're going to set up vendors today using the vendors tab. This will be data in. So even if you are your own lead vendor, you will be a vendor in this case. So setting up vendors is super easy. We're going to click on vendors. You'll see some vendors that I already had added in here before, but add a new vendor is very easy. So we're going to click on add vendor here. To do this, we're going to then name our vendor. So we're going to call it new vendor. We'll call new vendor 1. And then we're going to have to add a new legal entity. So you can click on this. And so we'll name it the same entity name. So new vendor 1. And to see all the entities that you've created, you can click on presets and go down to entities. But for this, we're going to click on new vendor 1. You can add in the address, anything else. If you want to put in the website, it will also update the little tile, and so the icon will show up next to the vendor name. You can also add your own if you'd like to do that and customize it yourself. But we're going to click OK, click Save and Return here. And so new vendor 1. So this will have our new legal entity, new vendor 1, and our vendor name. Every vendor has to be associated with a legal entity. So that's just something to keep in mind. So we're going to click Save, and this is going to create our new vendor. So once we've created our new vendor, we are now able to create campaigns. You can create an unlimited number of campaigns per vendor. Each campaign is going to be tied to a vertical, and so you should have already created at least one vertical in the last video here. So we're going to go ahead and click Add New Campaign. So this will be how you can get data in. And so in this case, we'll go ahead and do solar, since that's what we set up in our first video. So we're going to select our vertical. And so we're going to go down and click solar new, since it's a vertical that we had just set up. There are 4 campaign types. Mostly you're just going to be working with a few of these. So ping post type is if you were going to be buying leads via ping post auction. This is going to be a 2-step system where you send back a price. Direct post is if you will be buying from an external vendor, but on a fixed price. This is a little bit less common. Capture campaigns is going to be where you're generating your own leads yourself. So this is if you have your own forms, and I'll cover how to create forms and embed them on your sites in a future video. But this is going to be if you own the data yourself, and then brand capture is a specialty campaign. So most of the time you're going to be dealing with either ping post or capture, with some cases of direct post. So in this case, we're going to assume it's going to be a ping post setup. And so we're going to click Save. This is going to create the campaign. At this point, you are mostly done setting up the campaign. And for most of you, you can stop here to share the specs. So to share the instructions for how a vendor can send this data into the platform, you're going to click on this View Specs button. From here, this is going to have the specs generated for your vendor. You can share this link. This link is shareable, so anybody can view this link. It is going to have all of the instructions for how to send the data in. So this is going to be from your vertical, which we covered in the first video. It's going to show the vendor exactly how they can send it in. This also includes a testing section for the vendor, so they can test this and get back results. And it will include examples and the data structure for the vendor, both in JSON and XML. This should be everything the vendor needs to set up and send information in. And is where most of you can stop here. So if you just need to set up a vendor and a vendor campaign and send specs, you can stop here. This is what you need to do. I'm going to briefly cover the next portion of this, which is going to be some of the advanced things you can do on the vendor side. Now, most of the time, you can also cover this also on the buyer end. But some of the things you can do as well is if you want to place limits on this vendor, you can add caps either to the pricing or a budget. If you want to give a vendor a certain budget, you can also set a ping or a lead cap per day, per week, per month. And then you can also, there's some advanced settings here, which we'll cover in future videos. But this will set the timeout time if the vendor needs a response in a certain number of seconds. You can also go in here to the integration tab. Again, this is a little bit more advanced settings, but you can override or change how the data is coming into the platform. And so if you have a vendor that you need to make changes that are different from your vertical setup, or you want to overwrite some of their data, or they just can't get some data into you for whatever reason, you can change this per campaign here. We also have an AI autocorrect. Our AI in the platform is called Amelia AI. In this case, it is enabled. I would recommend that enabled. This will autocorrect data coming in to the right format so the platform can accept it, and you'll get a higher lead acceptance rate. You can also use the filter section here. Again, I'm going to run through this quickly since most of the time people will control this on the buyer side. And so you'll have all these same options on the buyer end, but this is where you can also add rules. So you can add any data that you have in here. You can filter on and make sure that the rules are applied. You can also turn on and off the vendor based on a schedule, or turn it off on select days like Christmas or New Year's. And you can also add in location filters. Again, most of the time people do this on the buyer end, but you can control all of this on the vendor side as well. Lastly, we can jump over to the allow block section. So this will allow you to block certain buyers from receiving leads, or certain buyer campaigns. You can also block certain sub IDs or source IDs if the vendor is passing you that information. And so you can block just subsets of the leads coming in, or you can block certain landing pages as well. And so you can add and block landing pages this way. And the last thing you can do is, this is an error section. Since this is a demo account, there is no data coming in here, but this will also show you an aggregated view of all of the errors connected with this specific campaign. So you can look through and see how often errors are happening. Yep, that covers it. And so for the most part, it's very, very easy to set up vendors and set up the vendor campaigns. And again, you just click on this view specs button to issue those specs, and you can send those over to your vendors.